Hey everybody, Joy here. It is Friday again already, September 27, 2019. And yes, I know you can see the boo-boo on my shoulder. For those of you who don't know, I had a lipoma up there. And the lipoma never hurt me. It just was getting bigger, so I had it removed. Dear Lords, I don't know what they did to me, but I feel like I've been the doctor's punching bag now. I'm not taking any pain medication because I'm just way too goofy if I take pain pills. I'm goofy enough as it is. But yesterday, I tried to make you guys a whole bunch of tutorials. And when I do that, there's like a little clip and a little clip and a little clip and a little clip. And then I sit down to edit it and try to put it all together. And it's just nuts, just nuts. And I'll think, well, what did I tell them that for? What did I tell them that for? Well, they don't care about this. They don't care about that. By the time I chop it all out, it is such a mess. So I've decided I'm just going to show you one thing, okay? And then I can make that the title. And then if you guys want to go back and look at just that one thing will be in this video, okay? So what I'm going to show you is how I crimp the top of the sleeve and how I put the sleeve in a blouse, okay? So whatever I'm saying may not go together with what I'm saying to you right now. Just remember, it's been cut out of another video and stuck here, all right? So let me show you how I crimp a sleeve right here. Okay, I'm going to show you how to crimp the sleeve cap on the sleeve. You can either do it first step or you can do it after you've got the hem and the side seams in. Either way, it works. Now, be very, very sure that when you have your sleeve cut out, you have got the double notches over here. I have them marked with purple, you'll have them clipped. You have a mark up here at where the top is. This is the part you are going to match up to the shoulder seam. You be sure and mark it. Usually I just put a little clip there. I don't put notches, I just put a clip, because if I put a notch I might end up sewing the top of the shirt under my arm or something. So I put the two notches here, I put a little clip up there, and then the single notch over here. Now you know what the single notch and the double notch are, right? Always, 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 in every pattern I've ever sewn, from every company I've ever sewn one from, the double notch is the back. The single notch is the front. Very important, very important. If you accidentally get this sleeve, I know it kind of looks the same, it just looks like a curve, but it's not the same. There's more room in the back than there is in the front. So you want to make sure you're matching the double notch to the double notch on the garment. The garment will have a double notch in the back, and the garment will have a single notch in the front. And the shoulder seam marks where this little clip at the top goes, okay? Very important. Now, patterns will not tell you the crimping method. Viv and I will tell you the crimping method. I don't know which video Viv did that in, so I'm just going to show you me doing it, okay? A lot of you probably already seen her do it. I think somebody said, will you show us too? We want to see it again. So, if your seam allowances in your pattern are 5/8 inch, if they're 5/8 inch, you are going to sew your crimp line at 1/2 inch. If your pattern has a 1/2 inch seam allowance, then you're going to crimp it at 3/8 inch. It wouldn't be the end of the world if you crimped it on the seam line, except that it would show and you would have to pull it all out, and that is not an easy thing to do, okay? So, just a little bit inside the actual seam line, all right? If you're using a 1/4 inch, you are sewing with a knit, and you don't need to crimp the sleeve when you're sewing with a knit, okay? So this is for cottons, wovens. That's when you have to gather the sleeve, and the pattern is going to tell you to sew 2 lines of stitching all around this cap. one line and then two lines, and you leave a long thread at both ends, and then you have to pull it and gather it. No. This is much, much easier and faster and cooler and funner. You want to see? Hold on, let me see if I can get this camera to aim right. You gotta have your sewing machine with the right foot on it. This is my Bernhardt 740, and it has this even feed feature that I love. But you don't want the even feed feature on when you're crimping. You just want a regular foot that you sew your clothes together with, okay? All right, here's my sleeve cap. When you're doing it according to the pattern instructions, it's going to have a little dot here and a little dot here. And it's going to tell you to sew this gathering stitch between the dots. I pay no attention to that whatsoever. I start at either the double notch or the single notch, whichever one shows, and I sew all the way around to the other notch. That's the way I do it. Never gotten in my way, never bothered me, okay? So you're going to sew 1/2 inch line, not 5/8, or a little bit narrower than your seam line. I am going to turn my stitch length up to a basting stitch. I'm going to turn it up to a 4.5 on this machine. 4.5. You want it to be big because you don't want this gathered up like this. You don't want it so tight you can't get it apart. There's probably less than an inch of ease, extra ease going around. If there's more than that, you're probably not going to get your sleeve in. So you don't need it gathered up just super tight, okay? All right, I'm going to put my sleeve in here. I'm going to line it up with the 1/2 inch line. I'm going to put my foot down. Now here's the most important part. Put your coffee down, get a paper, get a pencil, make a note. Most important part is that you put your finger back behind the presser foot. You see my finger right here? Here's the presser foot right here. When I start sewing, it's going to start moving this fabric underneath this foot. That's what it's supposed to do. But I don't want the fabric to move. I want to hold it and try to keep it from moving. I know that sounds nuts, but that's what you do. Put your finger here. I'm touching the back of the presser foot and I'm touching the fabric. Okay? Now you don't have to hold it super tight. I mean, you do want it to move a little, but you're trying to make it crimp. Okay? I hope that makes sense. All right, let's see if I'm set up here and we can sew. All right. Here we go. I am lining this up with the 1/2 inch mark, okay? Start, go. Now, I kind of use this hand as my car. You can't move this hand because you've got to keep your finger back here. So this hand is going to steer it on this 1/2 inch mark here. And I'm going to try to keep it from going across it. It might go across it a little bit. It might even go to the 5/8, but try not to ever cross that 5/8 mark, okay? Let's go, Joe. I'm using my thumb. Oh, I can see. See this thumb right here? This thumb, that one. It's kind of pushing it a little and steering it. So I'm using both hands to steer. Oh yeah, that works good. And now you can let go. If it gets to be so much, let go of it. But, you know, do it as long as you can. I only lifted it up once. Okay, now I'm going to lift this, I'm going to pull out some thread, and I'm going to cut some tails. Now look at that. Look at that. Is that absolutely wonderful? Wonderful. Only one line of thread. If it's too small, you simply break the stitches or cut the stitch. You can always loosen it here between the notch and where that dot was that I never paid any attention to, because it's supposed to sew in pretty straight from here to here, and most of the gathering goes up here nearer the top. But usually my sleeve just pops right in there, easy as can be. Hardly ever do I have to change it. It just sews right in, and it's wonderful. And you don't have to pull this crimping stitch out. Isn't that neat? Easy peasy. I did it with yellow on green so you can see. I never called it crimping, but Viv did, so now I call it crimping. Because I have to do everything Viv's way. Alright, okay, that's the crimping technique. Okay, after you crimp the sleeve, you have to put the sleeve in the blouse. So I showed you how I put the sleeve in the blouse. So let me show you that right here. You want to see me put the sleeves in the blouse? You know the blouse I'm making, sunflowers. I've got the sleeves crimped. You can see they're crimped. So what you do now is you turn your blouse inside out. Inside out. Which is weird because the outside's in. Turn your blouse inside out. So here you have an armhole, okay? So you're going to look for this seam, side seam, the shoulder seam, the double notch, which I actually haven't cut out of the blouse, but I've got the single notch over here. Okay? When you've done it 5 trillion times, one notch is enough. And even if I didn't have any notches, I know where the side that the bust dart's on is the front, okay? Now, 100 times out of 100, you're gonna pick up the wrong sleeve. So, let's try. Now, the sleeve is right side out, okay? The sleeve's right side out, the garment's wrong side out. You want right sides together. So you are going to stick this inside. We're going to stick it inside, just like that. So now the right side of the sleeve is touching the right side of the blouse. Makes sense. So we're going to start at the bottom and we're going to go up and see, do we have 2 single notches together or 2 double notches together? Just check one side. Aha, this is the first time in history that I ever picked the right sleeve the first time. You guys are giving me good luck. So, if you've got the right notch, very, very important. I have had to take both sleeves out before and put them back in. That's not a fun job. Don't do that. All right, so I'm going to start. Forget the ruching, forget the crimping right now. The first thing you're going to do is attach it at the bottom seam line. Get your chicken out. This is dot. Get your chicken out and pin. Where do we pin? On the 5/8 inch line. And I just dropped that pin. Pick up. On the 5/8 inch line, a little bitty bite. Turn the seam allowances which way they go. They go opposite of each other. Okay? The garment seam allowance goes to the back. The sleeve seam allowance goes to the front. All right, now I'm up at the top. Here's the top of my blouse. This is the shoulder seam. So remember that little slit I told you about that you're gonna make? You got all this crimping in here, and if you don't have that little slit, you're never gonna find the part of the sleeve that attaches up here at the shoulder. So you match that up with the seam line of the shoulder. 5/8 inch, take a little bite. So now my sleeve is attached up here at the shoulder and down here at the side seam. I'm positive that it's right sides together. I've sewn them in upside down before. I've sewn them in wrong side to wrong side back when I was a little younger. The more you do it, the better you get. Now, you're going to stretch between the shoulder seam and the bottom seam with your crimped part. And you can see that if I just lay this together and go down from the top to the bottom, it's perfect. Perfect. I don't have to pull any more gathers in it. I don't have to take any gathers out, which is crimping. I didn't do gathers, I did crimping. But if I had to, I could just pull some of it out and make it longer. But it almost always comes out perfect. Now, I never have the notches match up. Some people do. Some pattern companies get it right, most don't. But as long as you've got a double notch across from a double notch, they don't have to match exactly. See, look at this. It just goes right in here. Awesome. Awesome. And I'm pinning it 5/8 inch. Yep. If you do all your little steps, it makes it so much easier. And of course, the more you do it, the more comfortable it will be for you. And if you make a mistake, don't fret, don't worry, don't think, oh, I'm never going to sew again. Just mark it up as a lesson. A lesson. I had a whole bunch of sleeve lessons in my life, let me tell you. How not to do sleeves. Look at this side's perfect too. I don't have to take any crimping out. I don't have to add any crimping. It's just perfect. Okay, this is ready to sew in. You can see from the other side. There it is, ready to sew in. Check it 10 times, sew it once. All right, now, if you have the ability to open the end of your machine, remove part of it to make the arm open, do that. Because it's really easy. It's kind of a pain with this koala table. Because I have to take this off. Probably a lot easier for most of you guys. And then I have to raise my sewing machine up like that. And then I'll move the camera down and you can see here. All right, here's my free arm. See here? It's just sticking out by itself. So I can take this sleeve and wrap it around it. See that? That really helps. It really helps if you have a free arm, it's called, and you can wrap this around it. All right, now I'm going to put this on the 5/8 inch line, put my foot down, and go. And I'm going to pull out the pins as I get to them. Now, what part am I sewing on? I am sewing on the flat part. I'm not sewing over the crimping. I'm sewing over the other side because I just never have any trouble with it this way. Some people like to sew with the gathers or the crimping on top. Take out the pins as you get to them. Remember I told you I could put one of these sleeves in a minute. I bet I can put this in less than a minute. That pin just went flying somewhere. And your hands are your very best tools, you guys. They are your very best tools. Your fingers, they're just wonderful. Put them in front, put them in back, pull out your pins with them. Guide it. Keep your eyes in front of the presser foot. Don't ever look at the needle. You don't need to look at the needle going up and down. That needle's going to go up and down forever and ever and ever. You're looking at it isn't going to change it one bit. You look at where you're going. Oh, I've got this on the big stitches, guys. I got to turn it back down and go around again. But I wouldn't have to. Let me just take it out and show you how good it is. I still had it on basting. And you might want to baste it in. If you haven't done one before, you might want to baste it in to start with. That way, if you have any crimps in it, or folds, or tucks, it'd be a whole lot easier to rip out. But look here. My sleeve is in. And there's no crimping showing up here on top. There's something showing, cut it off. Threads. Keep little scissors by your machine and cut your threads off. See here? The sleeve is in. It's perfect. Perfect. Do you see? No tucks, no folds, no bubbles. It's just perfect. And when you press it, it will be even more perfect. How do you press it? I always press my seam allowances into the sleeve. Into the sleeve. That gives it kind of a little baby shoulder pad. Press it into the sleeve, not into the blouse. But first, I go over to my serger and I serge it off to about 3/8 inch, 1/4 of an inch, and then I press all of this seam into the sleeve. Now, since I've already hemmed the sleeve, that's all done. Okay, so I'm just gonna stop this video here. This is gonna be about crimping and putting a sleeve in, okay? So I'm gonna say goodbye for this video, and I'll be back real soon with another one. Bye for now.